Are we on? Yeah. Oh, AJ didn't clip me in time. I'm sorry, guys. Welcome to the LGBTQ Voice. My name is Traci Welch. Tonight we're going to be talking about homelessness. I was able to get an invite out there, and hopefully we got some good feedback coming in tonight. I'm just waiting to see if the New Bedford Guide page is coming up for me. I just have to wait a little bit longer because you guys know me and this technology here. So before I introduce our guests, I wanted to let you guys know, oh, here it comes, I'm seeing it, what's going on in the community. So we actually have New Bedford Art Museum has December 13th from 6 to 9, UMass Dartmouth artist in residence Lauren Moran for a night of karaoke, dress and drag, or in anything that makes you feel like a rock star. It's a free event. It's at the Art Museum, and again, it's December 13th from 6 to 9. I'm very honored for our network to be helping. Eileen is working diligently with Fall River Pride. So Fall River is going to have a Pride this year. It's going to be their first one. So we have South Coast Pride on Saturday, June 1st. Fall River Pride is trying to do one on June 2nd. So ours will be June 1st and June 2nd. So they're actually going to be Drag Me to Brunch. So we've had the Queens of the South Coast have been on our show before, and they're actually going to be part of the brunch. And it is December 9th from 11 to 4. And again, if you want tickets to the show, hit up Eileen at, you know what it is, right? SCLGBTQnetwork.org. And actually, this time she has a phone number. 774-775-2656. And again, at any time you guys want to talk to Eileen or myself, it's Traci at SCLGBTQnetwork.org, and you guys can hit us up. So each week, guys, we know we want to try and do different shows, and tonight's show is on homelessness. It's a lot going on. We thought it was good for the winter time. Oh, look, I did it right this time. Kate, how you doing? I know Kate's watching. Thank you so much. So I got our comments going. I appreciate that. So now I'm going to introduce you guys to our guests. So to my left, I have Danielle Brown. She's a project director, Project Fair for Stepping Stone in Fall River, New Bedford. We have, I'm going to say it wrong, God help me, let me go backwards now. Mike Riley, outreach worker for the Veterans Transition House. And Anthony Irving, direct staff worker for Veterans Transition House. So even though we're called the LGBTQ Voice, not every veteran's LGBTQ, not every issue from Stepping Stone is LGBTQ. However, there are some percentages in our community that are LGBTQ that have the same issues. So I wanted to give a shout out to the Women's Center. We didn't have enough room for today, so we're hoping the Women's Center will be on next show. And we're hoping to have one more other organization to do a double whammy on homeless issues and what's going on, and talk about where people can maybe drop off clothing, things like that for our next show. So, Danielle, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good, thanks. Can you talk to us a little bit about what Stepping Stone is?
Yes. So Stepping Stone, I work for the Project Fair Department.
Yep.
What we do is we have a homeless wellness center here in New Bedford, located at 5 Dover Street.
Yep.
In our office, we provide services to homeless individuals who are living on the street, who are chronically homeless. We provide services to them such as case management services. We connect them with the coordinated entry system. We assist them within getting into shelter and helping them search for housing, whether it be within permanent supportive housing here within the city, yep, or our local housing authorities.
So I'm looking for my notes if I'm crazy here.
It's okay. And we provide that service both in Fall River and New Bedford. So at our First Step shelter that we have in Fall River, we have workers that are right there on hand for those that are in shelter or those that are in need of those services that can come in.
Sweet.
So we also have outreach workers where they go out within the community and the encampments and they meet people, because we know trust is a big thing for individuals, and meeting with where they're at is really important. So that is a new upcoming program that we just actually kicked off. We also do have C-SPEC workers who do the same work with those that are chronically homeless. Throughout Stepping Stone, we have residential treatment for substance abuse. We have mental health treatment. And as I said, we have the shelter. We have a reentry program. And we are going to be starting a medication-assisted treatment program very soon. Within all of these components, we do have permanent supportive housing in both Fall River and New Bedford. In Fall River, the criteria is substance abuse, mental health, domestic violence, and an HIV. Here in New Bedford, we have a housing program called the Welcome Home Program, which I do oversee. That program's for individuals who are homeless in the city of New Bedford who have an HIV or AIDS diagnosis. And we provide housing and supportive services to them.
So one of the things, Kevin is our production assistant, guys, and he did some research. The National Alliance to End Homeless 2017 report defines unsheltered as those living outside, in a car, or in a place not meant for human habitation. Last year, 66% of those unsheltered were males, 23% were females, and 11% were families and children. So I just kind of want to put that out there. I can kind of move my notes away, right? So questions. Sorry, guys. I wish I had more desk space. I lost my brain. It's on the same page, guys. So what is the most common reason for someone to become homeless?
The most common, through our annual point-in-time count that the City of New Bedford does, that we will be conducting that last week of January of this year, from our numbers from last year, we have found that mental health has been the most outstanding one. So when you think about, there's a lot of labeling and stigmatizing around homeless individuals, we find now that a lot of it is unaddressed mental health. And so that's where the substance abuse comes in, because a lot of people are self-medicating. So that population co-occurring, I would say, is like the highest reason because of addiction, and mental health is where most people become homeless. I also want to say the faces of homelessness really have changed. So when people do label and stigmatize, there are a lot of families. I'm an active member of the city's HSPN, Homeless Service Providers Network, and you will find that there are a lot of families who are doubled up, who are actually homeless. So you said the definition of homelessness. That would be the hard definition of those living on the street. The beauty of our new FAIR program is that we will serve those that are doubled up families and so forth. I believe the last numbers I had, there was like about 200 families within the school department, within the city of New Bedford, who are homeless, children who are being driven to other areas and so forth for their homelessness. So the lack of employment is a big cause of homelessness, the skills and education. So I really couldn't, I don't like to say it's one direct thing. There's many things. And I said this last year when I went on the radio for the point in time count when we were kicking off, I am one paycheck less of being homeless,
Kevin and I did that, but how many people are one paycheck away from that?
Exactly.
2 paychecks away from that. We're all that close.
Exactly.
At our youth center, Kevin's one of our peer leaders. This week we did a thing. How much do I need? Like if I make $11 an hour, it's $22,000, whatever it is, and we're homeless, right? We said, I can't have any kids, I can't go to college. We have that cycle that's going on. So every time at our youth group on Thursday nights from 5 to 7, MBI, ages 14 to 24, LGBTQ, we talk about different issues. And this last week was budgeting and finances. If you make $11 an hour and there's 2 people living in a household and one person can't work, can you make ends meet with $22,000? You're the poverty line,
Yeah, so in fair market rents, let's be real. I know I pay a lot of money for rent. How about you? And so when you think of an individual who has mental health, who is unable to work, who is on a fixed income every month, such as Social Security and so forth, their fair market rents, they really cannot, they're rent burdened to be able to pay rent. So what are some of the things they resort to? Some of the behaviors, they're not able to pay rent, so they're facing eviction. So a lot of those services, and again, I hate to keep going back to Project Fair, that is one of the things through doing statistics and so forth. Mental health has been the biggest component, so we do provide wraparound services. And I should mention that, where we have a mental health therapist right on hand in our office.
Sorry, Kevin dropped his phone, guys.
Like, whoa.
We're like, whoa, wait, there's more. So we have a couple comments already. Kate says, hi, Kate, I appreciate you checking in. Sergio says, with respect to mental health, what conditions are most common?
Most conditions are most common with mental health.
Yeah.
You find a lot of trauma, PTSD. I think is the biggest mental health condition that a lot of people, severe depression, but a lot of trauma. So that would be the PTSD.
Thanks, Sergio. I appreciate you. Trace, thanks for tuning in. She said she's here. We actually have a few people that are just watching and not commenting, and that's okay. And we appreciate that. Every now and then I'll just peek over to the phone and see where we're at. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one again. So what needs to be improved or added to society to reduce the rates of homelessness?
What needs to be improved? I personally think through looking at the statistics like you talked about, and I had written a note here in my thing. So since 2007, the National has said that homelessness actually has decreased in overall 14.4%. I believe that is because of a lot of the new services that we are doing. Last year, I do know our annual point in time count showed that homelessness was up a little bit in New Bedford, but we kind of took that with the displacement within Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in, so that raised our homelessness a little bit here in New Bedford. I think, though, the criteria, as you said, for homelessness needs to be changed a little bit. There are a lot of individuals for whatever reasons, and we're talking about mental health. I know we just housed a gentleman who has been homeless for 3 years, who has been living behind Savers and out in the street of the city of New Bedford, and we began working with him 3 months ago. He actually got housed this week, and I am so excited about that.
Awesome.
That was due to great outreach and engagement and trust building. But the reason he did not enter shelter and get those services is, again, because of his mental health. He couldn't stay in a shelter. It's a lot for him to stay in a shelter. So I think if we can kind of look at homelessness in another context of, instead of just looking at that person on the street, some people do need to stay with family. I know for our HIV housing program, a lot of individuals have physical disabilities or health conditions which keep them from staying in shelter, and a family member will let them stay. But necessarily they may not be able to get services because they don't meet that definition of homelessness.
And I think with social media today, we see so much negative. The person on the street panhandling, you see the person stumbling and standing like that, and people are laughing, and I'm like, and we talked offline, Anthony, about a friend of mine posted on Facebook today about a prostitute, and she's on drugs and all these issues. Another friend of mine said, 15 years ago, that was me. He goes, but it's her choice. And I may choose to not, be addicted to drugs or alcohol. Mental illness might be a little bit different. I don't really think it's really a choice. It's not a choice. But that transition, it takes time and it takes effort. I know Trace, I'll get to your comment in a second because it's going to be a little bit further down. She wants to know how we can help, and that's going to be a little bit further up. And I appreciate
always get
that.
out.
Yep, I appreciate that, Trace. But it's tough. I mean, I work with Tedeschi's, and I was a DM, and one of my managers said, somebody died in the parking lot. He OD'd, and I said, you guys call 911. I go out and I'm peeking. There's only 2.5 parking spaces and a trash barrel, and I'm like, I don't see nobody dead. And I'm like, I don't get it. So I go back in. They said, no, he's out there. And I'm like, no, he's not. I go back around the car, and there's a dude sitting in the car, and there's a nurse there, and I'm thinking, well, wait, now I'm looking for the ambulance, right? And I'm going, I don't get it. And they go, somebody yelled down the street, anybody got any Narcan? She goes, I do. She ran down the street. She Narcan, and he was out sitting in the car. And I'm like, oh my God. It was that quick. And they wanted to leave. And I said, well, listen, we have you on the camera. The police are on the way. Could you please wait? You can leave, but we got your license plate. What happened in our parking lot. We're very diligently go those steps. You know what I mean? And I joke about it sometimes. Like, dude, I've never seen that happen. But I'm like, oh my God, thank God for the Narcan. One of my friends was one of the first New Bedford cops to give Narcan in New Bedford. Back when it first came out. JT. So shout out to JT. But it's not, I see the comments, and I see like this, the person just, on the side of the street, and everyone's like laughing and joking. It's not funny. That's somebody's mom, somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's father, and it's just, how can we, like Tracy said, how can we help? So how can we help?
We can help by, first, I truly believe, and I will say this, I am once one of those individuals that you're speaking of. I'm in recovery. I've been in long-term recovery for some time, and I once was that homeless individual that you've seen on the street. So I think, not having the mindset of labeling and believing that a person makes that choice and that they can't change. That's the beginning of it all. And then being able to really offer our services, such as, she's asking, how can I help?
Yep.
There are a lot of ways and means that an individual can help, but I think the first and most important thing to help anybody who is out there is just by being supportive, building that trust with that individual on the street, not judging them. Because there are many, like you talked about, prostitutes. I know individuals who have prostitute as a source and means of living to provide for their family.
To make ends meet.
To make ends meet. So not every person that is out there prostituting necessarily is a drug addict. That could just be a mother who resorted to that to provide for her family. So I believe in...
So I have two more comments. Gary Freitas says, interesting. And Trace, I know, Trace says, I've been homeless and rebuilt my life. I buried my brother to overdose. And yeah, we did a fundraiser for Trace's brother at our local gay bar of the place. Trace is LGBTQ. Sorry, Trace, I just outed you. But we did a fundraiser at the bar because he died with, with no resources.
No resources.
So we did
really
a
hard.
fundraiser and tried to. Is there specific programs for the LGBTQ community? She's asking.
So
you provide for everybody.
That's what I was going to say. We provide for everybody. I mean, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Anybody can get these services. It affects everybody, all walks of life.
So we're going to talk about a couple of LGBTQ, actually homeless health concerns in general, and then I'm going to do a couple of LGBTQ. Poor health can contribute to being homeless, and being homeless can lead to poor health. Limited access to health care can make it worse. That's why the health of homeless people in the United States is worse than that of the general population. Common health problems include mental health problems, substance abuse problems, bronchitis and pneumonia, problems caused by being outdoors, wound and skin infections, and menstrual hygiene amongst women. Many homeless women are victims of domestic or sexual abuse. Homeless children have high rates of emotional and behavioral problems, often from having witnessed abuse. So I'm going to have AJ put up the New Bedford street sheet. I know I've talked about this a few times. I was able to get it up, and it's actually going to be on our page, so you guys can kind of take a look at it at your leisure and write down some information that you really may need. I keep it in my wallet. It actually has places where you can eat a few days a week, breakfast, lunch, and meals, and it actually has other shelters and outreach that you guys can get in New Bedford. I don't have a Fall River one. I actually kind of looked for a Fall River street sheet, but I didn't see it. It might be under something else.
They do have a listing, but it's not a street sheet.
Yeah.
So I can get that to you.
That would be terrific.
I can definitely get that to you.
Put it up on another show. So I actually have some more comments come in, which is terrific. Jonathan says, Narcan is good, but it's turning into a safety net. And yes, they're going to take off the drugs they use, bring criminal charges. That's exactly how it's written. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, people, well, you know what, Narcan's going to save my life, so I can get a higher high. Yeah.
My question to that would be, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
What's the alternative? Let somebody die?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't.
You know?
I mean, if I had Narcan and see something, I mean, that's a choice. But I appreciate the comments. And guys, I really appreciate everybody being respectful. So please, everyone, thank you so much. Sergio says, what approaches do you think are effective in reducing stigma towards the homeless? Where are some of the good examples of communities elsewhere that have been notably successful in humanizing the homeless? I mean, you guys could all answer. I'm not sure. What approaches do you think are effective in reducing stigma towards the homeless?
I think education, educating our community.
Yeah. Just like shows like this.
See, we both done the same frame.
Yeah.
A lot of education. I know, again, for me, a lot of what I've been doing is partnering with landlords,
Yep.
educating landlords, our Welcome Home program. We have some great landlords within the city of New Bedford who understand what we're doing and on board with what we're doing. So if you educate our community, you educate our local police departments, I must say, in the city of New Bedford, our police department's doing a great job with collaborating with agencies and organizations to be able to get out there and help them. So I think it's more shows like this, just a lot of education, having forums within the city where others can meet and get the education that they need. That's really where we need to start.
Education is great. You also have to make sure you provide a safe place for homeless.
Yes.
Because I know for sure there's a homeless population, and some homeless that I've ran into aren't safe going into some of the facilities that they say are for homeless because some of the things happen to them, and they feel much safer staying out on the streets because they can think for themselves a lot easier and safer.
I agree.
So why don't we, AJ, why don't you show the veterans video, and then we'll open up the conversation a little bit more. AJ's going to shoot a quick video.
The Southeastern Massachusetts Veterans Housing Program, locally known and better known as the Veterans Transition House. It was a group of Vietnam vets that started this. I think with veterans, some of them will integrate no problems back into society, and then there's some that don't. They have a hard time with it, whether it's due to PTSD or whatever other reasons. Our mission is to help out veterans to reintegrate into society, and to help fight the affliction of addiction.
We get all branches of the service here: Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard. Guys who have just struggled with homelessness. They've had a bad break in life. We have guys that have just really struggled with getting clean and staying clean.
I lost everything that I had. I went to the VTH with a sweatshirt, pair of jeans, and sneakers. That's it. That's what I had left in my life. I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I needed help. And I got it.
I was having some mental health issues. I had about depression. Didn't have housing at that point. My depression hit. The issues I had were really impacting my daily life.
There was no one particular thing that got me homeless. A lot of things did. I was an alcoholic long before I entered the service. I didn't have any place to go. Found this place, and they asked me if I wanted to come here. Not knowing anything about it, I said yes, and I'm glad I did.
Everyone has their own story, basically. The one thing we all have in common is that we're veterans, and and with that, personally speaking, there's a whole lot of respect, that I have, and pride that I have because of that.
We bring them in and we get them housed, and then they go to groups on a daily basis. They go to meetings, recovery meetings if those are required. What you want to do is just kind of get that community feel, and they want to have that camaraderie that they've had before.
But you meet some real veterans just like you that have gone through the same stuff you've gone through. They've been to war. They've served overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan. You get really tight with some of those veterans. You get some real friends that you haven't had in a long time.
It is like a big family here. We eat together, we have our groups, nighttime meetings. The guys do all the details and chores around the house.
It's the same thing. It's the idea that your responsibilities don't stop just because you're here. So we try to keep that as part of the program.
We try to, point them in the right direction, help them build their foundation. Obviously, housing is a big need.
They have a housing plan. They'll look at what type of housing that they're going to be going for. Permanent housing is what we want to do. We want to see if these guys are ready for permanent housing.
They'll help you fill out the paperwork. They'll help you with resources to find a place to live. They'll also help you with getting into the place with furniture.
We've had 66% of our guys that have come in here have gone on to permanent housing. So we want to make sure that we try to set up somebody for success as much as possible.
It's a great launching pad. You get everything you need here. And if you can't get it right here, there's a van that'll bring you there. You know, I mean, there isn't much they won't do for you. Whatever your needs are, they're going to tailor make them to that.
So what we want to be able to do is to...
We have speakers come in. We'll have we'll go out to other events to make sure that the guys stay engaged, and not just recovery. A lot of time we do recreational stuff.
Well, you've got to have fun in your life too. We do car washes here to raise money. We get donations of kind that help us with movies and bowling and mini golf, and we talk amongst ourselves and find out what we want to do, and then when you sign up for it, they put it together.
Having to ask for help is not easy. All that anxiety went out the window. I know there's no judgment by the staff here. The staff, the majority of them are veterans themselves. They make me feel very comfortable, and they make you feel good inside. They really do. And for me, that was important.
If you want to get out and stay clean, and get on with your life, get your family back, that's what they're there for. I just can't tell you how grateful I am for what they made me feel from the first day I was there.
One guy yesterday was just talking to a new guy, came in, he said, "This place saved my life." And he was serious.
You have to want it, and I wanted it, but I didn't have the means or the support to get to that point where I could have a month sober or 2 months sober. Well, being here 6 months, I've got 6 months sober. It's really put my life in a better track. I know where I'm headed right now and what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Did you say 5?
Hey guys, we're back. I just thought it'd be cool just to kind of see a little bit of video, and then we're going to talk to our guest. So Mike does the outreach, he's an outreach worker, and Anthony is the direct staff worker. Right. So can you tell us first, like, what your job is, and then what your job is, and we've got some more questions.
Yeah, so what I do is I work off of the SSVF grant, Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, and we help those who are at risk of homelessness or are currently homeless. So we do prevention, and we also do rapid rehousing. We can help case manage. We can help temporary financial assistance, as far as, like, some people, they may make a good enough monthly income, but they, it's hard sometimes for that lump sum, that initial lump sum they want, first in security, or so sometimes we can provide that, as long as they're eligible. Obviously, they have to meet income guidelines. They have to be a veteran, and they have to be homeless or at risk of homelessness.
So I'll ask you the question later. So Anthony, what do you do for your job?
Mine's predominantly is just making sure that when we come on shift that we take a head count of all the residents that are there, that they say are there, and check to see who's not there, making sure that they take their medications on time that they're supposed to, ensuring that they get to the meetings, making sure the vehicles are straight, just making sure that the overall facility is safe and the
day-to-day runnings is going smooth.
Runnings and everything's running smooth, and making sure that they're eating and doing all those good things. Yeah.
Right, cool. So why is the homelessness rate for veterans so high? I know he's looking at you.
I think the homeless rate for veterans is probably so high because veterans, most of them don't even know where to go, first of all. Secondly, they don't think that they need a lot of help from a lot of people, or they, like I talked about earlier, they're afraid to get the help because they don't want to be labeled as homeless. And a lot of them have a lot of pride. I know that we have a lot of older veterans that have a lot of pride that do not want to be labeled as homeless. So they don't reach out to the services, or when the services are offered, they say, "No, I'm okay, I don't need it." So that's one of the biggest things that I see.
That's right. The point like the video's still on, but that video was, impactful. You saw the different ages, and you saw, why people went to get the help. What workshops do you guys offer?
We'll take that. We daily we have there's different groups that the residents have to attend. We do relapse prevention, budgeting, smoke cessation. Sometimes we have people come in from the outside and do groups. We'll have former residents come in, talk about their experience. That works. I feel like there's a lot of the residents at the house now can relate to when somebody comes in, they're doing well, and they say, hey, I was at the house at one point. Actually, one of our case managers is a former resident at the Veterans Transition House.
Well, Kevin came up with one of the good questions. Does the camaraderie the vets have with each other and the staff play a big role in successful treatment?
I think it plays a large role in that. Me too, also being one of the veterans that came through the house. A lot of times, I don't share my story with them when they first get there normally. But if I see them struggling through something, then I'll break my confidentiality and I'll share my story with them, because they're like, I didn't know that you came through here. And then they're surprised and they lean up a little more, and then they're more attentive to receive some information or receive some help, because they say, well, if he can, maybe I can too.
Exactly.
Well, we did a show, we did probably 3 or 4 shows on the trans law that was going to be, could be repealed for 2018's vote. And I said, well, why don't we put a picture of 3 women that transitioned to men and 3 men born men, if you want to look at it that way. Put all 6 up there, and you tell me who the trans individual is that you want in your bathroom. They're all men. So if you do the same thing and put 3 homeless men all dressed up and 3 businessmen all dressed up, and you tell me who the homeless is, you're not going to know.
That's right.
You know, you just don't. But you see, you know, the clothing, the odor sometimes. I think one of the things that I have a hard time is seeing somebody go pick up the little cigarette butts on the side of the road. Or the trash barrels. Like, again, I work for Tedeschi's, we used to have them out front, and I'm like, listen, they just leave them, let them. You know, they got to do what they got to do. We had Marcy Pina Christian on our show. We had a homeless trans individual, and she goes, Traci, actually Kevin was there that day. She brought him to our youth center. She goes, I don't know what to do. He's 28 years old. I said, well, he can't be part of the youth center, but how can I help? So I reached out to Christina DeFonseca from the Housing Authority. I forget what your title actually is. And a trans therapist, somebody that can help her through the transition. And Marcy's like, she just got that sandwich out of the trash. I'm like, okay. And she's eating from the trash. I'm like, Marcy, she's hungry. I got, again, we talked about the street sheet. I grabbed my street sheet. I wrote down real quick what she could eat, you know, blah, 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 blah. But that's all I could do at that moment. But I gave her the option of resources to, you know, get that, you know, the help hopefully she needed. And unfortunately, she didn't follow up. She never followed up with the counseling, and that's all we can do. So I'm like, okay, I feel better. I did what I could do, you know, and that's it. So what is the capacity for beds that you guys have? I don't know which one.
We have right now, we've transitioned from the 20 Willis Street property, and we're currently at the St. John's Rectory on 344 County Street.
Okay.
So the beds have gone down, as opposed to having, you know, 48 beds. Now we only have about 28 beds. We try not to utilize the top bunks if possible. We also have 4 Grand Per Diem properties around the city of New Bedford. I want to say that's another 30 beds.
That's not bad. So are there extra homeless that you can't help right now, veterans? Because there's not a bed for them.
Not right now. No. We have open beds. So.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of good to know.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about the extended housing that we were talking about offline?
Yep. So ideally, you know, what we do is transitional housing. Yep. So we'll take somebody into the main program. They're given a case manager, come up with an individual service plan, work on, you know, whether it's mental health, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's dual diagnosis, whether it's, you know, they owe child support and they haven't been able to budget properly, whether they need, you know, income assistance, whatever it is, work on those issues, eventually get them to the point where they're ready to move on to permanent housing.
Yeah.
That's where SSVF, what I do, that's where we can come in and hopefully help them. And if we can't help them, we'll point them in the right direction.
You know, I'm glad that we talked about that, because our youth group, we talk about getting a bigger center and doing transitional employment, transitional housing, and having the program set for a certain period of time, and then get that next kid in. I'm looking for my notes. So I'm going to skip to some LGBTQ stuff, guys. There was a study done in this April 25th, 2018. Chapin Hall at the University of Chicago was based on an informed survey of 26,161 young people nationwide about their housing status and in-depth interviews with 215 homeless young people ages 13 to 25 who identified as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. It's part of the Voices of Youth Count, an ongoing study of homeless young people in the United States. So the study found that LGBTQ young people are more than twice as likely to become homeless as their straight counterparts. Family issues such as poverty, mental health problems, substance abuse, loss of parent due to death or incarceration, being placed in foster care, and a family history of homelessness are also major factors in a young person's trajectory to the streets. The transition to homelessness rarely happens overnight. It's often a long process that involves months or years of couch surfing with friends and extended family. The study found that 38% of LGBT homeless youth said they had been forced to have sex. 27% had exchanged sex for food, housing, or other basic needs, and 62% said they'd been physically harmed by others. The initial Voices of Youth Count released in 2017 found that overall 1 in 30 youth ages 13 to 17 nationwide had experienced homelessness at some point in the previous year. LGBT youth were 120% more likely to be homeless than straight young people. 1.3 to 1.7 million youth experience one night of homelessness a year, with 550,000 youth being homeless for a week or longer. 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBTQ. And we talk about this at somebody says hi Tracy, Heather Trombley says hi Tracy, but I don't know if it's me Tracy or Tracy. But either way, hey guys. At our youth center we talk about it all the time. We're actually speaking at BSU on Thursday. BSU hit us up. Actually, a friend of mine runs a group home in Fall River, and he's doing an internship there. And he said our college class is doing a project, and it's going to be an LGBTQ suicide, ages 13 to 18. What could you do? So my friend Hollywood hit me up and said, hey, Tracy. So right there and then I talked to Jeffrey, and we set this up, and we're speaking. They invited 150 folks, different GSAs, and the college from BSU, Bridgewater State, and we're going to speak on Thursday to hopefully stop and reduce the suicide rate. So we can keep talking about homelessness, and we can talk about the suicide, and maybe one day our youth center will be bigger. Maybe we'll have transitional housing, transitional employment, washers, dryers, full working kitchen, and be ADA. But I want to kind of give a plug to LGBTQ, because that's who we are, or at least on this side of the table. So we're going to go back to the transition house. What can people do to support our veterans?
Well, there's a lot you can do. I think we've got a lot of people that come in and volunteer at the transition house.
So is there a website or a phone call that somebody could make?
Yeah, they can call. They can call the main number 508-992-5313.
Yep.
And there's prompts, but you can dial my extension 127. I'm more than happy to.
So are you guys looking for donations?
You can volunteer,
Yeah.
you can donate.
Yeah. Besides money, I mean, like clothing, food, what are you guys looking for things like that as well? Or?
Well, not so much clothing right now, because we're still dealing with the after effects of the bed bug epidemic. So we're still kind of fearful of that. So,
Yeah.
but if it's brand new clothes, still in the bag, then those kind of things. But we still have to be careful of that, because we're in a facility that's not actually ours.
Yeah.
So we don't want to leave anything in there that we didn't actually bring in.
I think, two things for the guys. Board games. The guys love books. Well, actually, books are a no-no also.
Oh, there's bugs. Yeah, wait, there's bugs. Wait.
Gotta be careful.
But no, board games are good. Food, I mean, yeah.
They have games. They have outdoor games. We just had a resident just recently just build a outdoor horseshoe.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
pit.
dug the pits in the ground and cemented it, and
Yeah.
gave them supplies, and some of them ponied up their own money to help pay for it. And,
Oh, wow.
so when it's not bad weather out, they play horseshoes. But I don't know what they're going to do now. It's going to get cold, so
wicked
they have to come up with something inside to do. The other thing is we just the residents got together and they rebuilt a old computer, and because there was none in the facility that we're in, so they rebuilt that one. So they're taking turns on using the one that's there. So talking donation, that would be a great one.
What about like drawing pads, art supplies?
Oh, there you go, Kevin.
Art supplies, yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the groups we do an art group, and so art supplies are great.
So our youth group is closed, and it's you have to be 14 to 24 invited in. Let's just say they want to talk to somebody about a particular topic. We'd get that person, and we'd the kids would say, "Yeah, I want to talk about this," and we would go get them. Do you guys have an open house there for people to kind of check it out, see what's going on, how they could help? Is there an open house day? I mean, how does it work? I'm not sure I want to volunteer. Can I go in and take a look?
Yeah, it's
I mean, how
usually
does that work?
a case-by-case basis. But if anyone out there is interested in coming to check the place out, definitely give us a call and we can make that happen.
Let's see. Do you have upcoming events? I know we talked offline that you got some big projects you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, the events right now have died down. We had a ton of events last month and the last few months, but with the winter coming, a lot of our outreach events have died down. There is a giant project that is in the works right now with the Veterans Transition House. The old transition house on 20 Willis Street is being torn down pretty soon. They've already started the work, and it's going to be built into 30 permanent supportive housing units. There'll be SROs. Yeah, it's a much needed in the area, New Bedford area. I mean, we really need permanent supportive housing. It's not men only. You can be families. So there'll be SROs, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. There'll be different units available. That's happening. The transition house it's going to be 1060 Pleasant. They're rehabbing an older building, and that'll become the transition house. And eventually, on the bottom of Campbell and Purchase, we're working on building an outreach center. So eventually, that whole little block there will be almost like a campus for veterans.
I think it's amazing.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was in the military years ago.
I have a daughter who's a veteran, so I'm about veterans.
And we're a nonprofit, so that
I was going to say that, you're a 501c3 nonprofit.
Right.
Exactly.
So we can't thank the city of New Bedford and the donors and the people that step up and help out. Absolutely. I mean,
Exactly.
Let's see. Can you tell us what the intake process is like?
Yep. So a lot of times, I mean, you can call yourself. You can do. We accept self referrals. If you're in a detox, I mean, you can get referred or you can be a self referral. Basically, we've lowered our barriers within the last 6 months to a year. There used to be you needed a DD-214, a biopsych social, a TB test.
Yeah, so offline, I was going to ask you guys that. Why do I need a negative TB tuberculosis test result? Why was that needed?
At one point, it was just to avoid the spread.
Yeah. Okay. And close quarters.
Right. So basically now the biggest thing is really we just need proof that you're a veteran.
Yeah.
If you can provide your DD-214, which is really your most important military document, it's your military record, or even a VA card, and then we can send out to get a copy of your DD-214. That's really it. If we can, we'd like to get a biopsych, but it's not. If you can't, we can work on that later. So yeah, really, you can call, you can walk right in, and we can get the process started just as long as you have proof that you're a veteran.
I know you told a little bit about your story. Would you be able to share a little bit about yours, or should I continue this conversation?
A little bit about my story?
Yeah.
Well, a little bit about mine is when me getting to a place like that is when I got out of the military, I was clueless about receiving any military benefits or anything. It wasn't something that I ever thought about until it was like almost 20 years later when I was out, and then I needed some support because of alcoholism and substance abuse, and so I needed some support, and I didn't know where to go until someone said, "Hey, well, are you a veteran?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I am a veteran."
Oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, yeah, I am. And so that's kind of like how it happened for me. And since then, it's been. You talk about the transition of coming from one place to another.
Yep.
It wasn't as easy as most people think it is, because there's also you have the recidivism rate, you have relapse, you have a whole bunch of other things that happen along the way. And if you don't, a lot of times if you don't physically move yourself from one place to another, then it's difficult because you're still around the same environment. And a lot of times the environment keeps you locked in, so you kind of like have to have yourself removed from that environment in order to get spiritually reconnected, mentally reconnected, get physically fit to be able to do something, and also to help yourself. So you have to start kind of like believe in somebody else that you see go through it before. So you have to have some sort of belief mechanism.
So what was it that was the turning point? Like I said, you know what? Because we talked about flying that people are like, oh, it's a choice. Well. It may not always be a choice, but maybe, I'd like to not be where I'm at. So, well, how long did it take you to get from, oh crap, I'm here, to, to a good space, a good place?
It got to losing an entire career. It got to having my children, thinking about them and all that stuff, and being in a place, waking up in the middle of the morning and looking at all the chaos around you and not realizing how you're going to ever get out. And you can get out, but you can't get out. It's almost like being stuck. But you ever see the thing with the rat on the wheel?
Yep.
And it's like that, running around, because as soon as you get whatever you used, right, then everything is okay again for the moment. But as soon as it's gone again, and then your consciousness woke back up, or something clicks, and you have a consciousness, something happens, and it's like, oh man, I gotta get out of here. And then you have to figure out, okay, how can I go and get help? And then you have to be able to trust the person that's helping you, because now you have shame, you have guilt, you have a whole bunch of other things that are riding on you because that's not who you used to be. So now it's like, how can I face these people again? And then all of the other things that you did while you were out there, you're robbing, stealing, all this kind of stuff, the wreckage of the past, family members and jobs, and it's like all of those things. It's like, how could I ever? And it's almost you have to believe in somebody else. Someone kind of like you have to have a blind faith in something in order for somebody to try to believe in you first. But you have to reach out at some point. When the hand reaches, you have to reach back, and that's the only way it can happen. Because if you're not, what happens is, because I've done this with clients and other people, I can want to help you all day long, and I can see your condition. I can see you out there in the corner. I can see you here, and I can give you everything that you want. But until you actually want to reach back, there's nothing I can do for you. All I wind up doing is enabling you and making it easier for you. But then when I go home, I'm thinking about you all day long. So now I wind up being codependent.
Yep.
Because I'm thinking about you all day long. And you out busy, happy, and your life is okay in your mind. But the people that care about you are the ones that always hurt the most. And we don't realize that when we're in that condition.
Exactly.
You want to add a little bit more?
Oh, no. I'm in total agreement. I know for myself, I got to a place where I had lost my children. I had lost everything I had. And even then, these services were offered to me. And I just didn't want to take them. It was too, when I was left alone on the streets and looking at my life and sleeping in the park and all of those things, feeling that shame and guilt, where it was like, is this what my world has come to? Is this what my life has come to? No matter how much people wanted to help me, and we could talk about these services all day long, if the person doesn't want to respond or receive it, it's senseless. So I can agree with Tony, because for me, I did go to, I'm a Stepping Stone alumni. I went through the Women's House here in New Bedford, and for me, that was a beginning for me, to be able to go into residential treatment and receive the help and gain custody of my 3 children back and become
What's the time frame of rock bottom to I'm good?
So I think for me, when I finally even thought about me being at a rock bottom is when I lost my children, and I loved my children with all my being. So that misconception, do they really care about their family? I did, and there wouldn't be anything that wouldn't have done for my children, but the disease of addiction had me that bad. So once I lost my children, I can honestly say it was about a year before I even began to do anything, because at that point in time, with stigma and labels and the guilt and the shame, I really believed my family was better off without me. But me, myself, knew in my heart what I really wanted, so I was able to change that around and regain custody of my children, turn around that adoption, and I must say I raised 3 amazing children who did not live the lifestyle I lived, but it was being able to say, I'm ready, I need this help, and take the services that were provided, that we're all offering, you know, here. There's great services here in New Bedford and in Fall River.
You're just going to allow the miracle to happen.
Oh, yeah. Even though you guys are in New Bedford, you guys represent the whole Southeast. So where does somebody go that's further? Like, what's the next veterans, do you know? Or you guys get that offline?
Another veterans organization?
Yeah.
There's Veterans Inc. They have an office in Fall River. Yeah, they have an office in Fall River, in East Providence.
They can still come here though, right? Because it's still Southeast. Or you guys just do New Bedford?
We do all of Bristol County.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and there is Veterans Inc. There's so many great organizations. There's Hydra for Heroes, another thing for veterans out there that every town has a veteran service officer, and they can help you with, there's Chapter 115 benefits that here in Massachusetts, we're the only state that offers these benefits.
Yes.
We're progressive, we're the first of a lot of firsts.
You know, they can help with health benefits, starting that process. With a service-connected claim, basically they can help you with any kind of veteran need. They can help with.
Mike, can you tell me what time it is? Because I can't figure it out.
It is 7:52.
Okay, so we're doing good. Woo-hoo.
We also have the largest veteran shelter in the country in Court Street.
Yes, who we're actually a subcontractor out.
So why do you think that is? Why are we the biggest? Because we're the best state.
Humanitarian
We
state.
are the best
state.
Because I am going to use my phone soon, guys. It is going to die on me, so some of the questions I'll have to get to you or get back to me privately. Trace, we can talk offline for sure. I just want to talk about some of the homeless shelters and some of the outreach that I did for the show. So Homeless Heart Foundation in Fall River wanted to come on the show. One of the people that are running that organization is working 2 jobs right now. Her husband's laid up. So they weren't able to come on the show, but they responded back several times. Listen, we're trying to get somebody up there, and they could not. So I wanted to kind of give a plus for that. Last week I actually talked to you guys about a homeless place in New Bedford, so I am going to tell you what happened. So New Bedford Homeless Advocates, Inc. posts on Facebook several posts, and I'm like, wow, they're looking for businesses or places that could post or put a donation bin for clothes. I got hit up a private message on that same message on Facebook, where can I drop off clothes, what can I do? Well, I had called Paul from that group and left him a voicemail saying, would you like to come on our show? The whole spiel and deal like I do everybody, and I didn't get a phone call back. So I sent him a private message on Facebook, and I got no thanks. So when I went to look later on their post more so, it was Love and God. So I believe, and again, I may be wrong, but it's like the Salvation Army. So we as LGBTQ have to be careful. So if I go to these organizations, like you said, a veteran is prideful, doesn't want people to know what's going on, I have to hide that I'm gay. Well, I might have to put a dress on, but that ain't gonna happen. But I may have to de-gay, you know, and just say, listen, these are my issues, to get help. Salvation Army won't help. There's other organizations that just won't help. I'm going to name some places around here that you guys may have to figure out if they're LGBTQ friendly or not. But there's Market Ministries Homeless Shelter for Men on 60 80th 8th Street, 60 I'm going to say it wrong again, 68th Street, New Bedford. Sister Rose House, 71 Division Street, New Bedford. You guys can go to mass.gov and find emergency family shelters. There was just a lot to list. Harbor House Family Center, New Bedford Housing Authority, Catholic Social Services, Dartmouth Housing Authority, Fall River Family Center, First Step In, but I don't know if that's one of your groups.
Stepping
Sorry,
Stone.
yep.
Fall River.
Fall River Housing Authority, and again, I already talked to you guys about the Homeless Heart Foundation. So I had done some research and gone and kind of get some stuff close to our area. And
Tracy, can you mention the phone numbers?
you want me to see the phone numbers
Well,
again?
can I just jump in on
Yeah,
what
honey.
you just read?
Yes.
So all the shelters here within the continuum, and now you have to contact 1-800-HOMELESS in
Yep.
order to get into a shelter
Right.
to get those services. The first one that you did read off, Market Ministries,
Yeah.
is actually Catholic Social Services Sisters Rose Shelter.
Yeah.
So they're no longer at the 8th Street location. But
There's-
if,
and that may happen because the websites aren't.
oh,
up to
yeah,
date,
no,
so-
definitely. So I
Yeah,
wanted
I appreciate
to
that.
back you up on that. So anybody that is homeless can actually call the 1-800-HOMELESS number. And I do want to put this out there, that you cannot call from an out-of-area code, so it has to be 774 or a 508 area code, or you will not get through. So once you call that 1-800-HOMELESS, they do work with the call,
Yeah.
and they do an intake on you, and if there is beds available, they will give you shelter. They do travel outside of New Bedford and Fall River to other locations if beds are full and there is availability. Again, anybody who is homeless or knows anybody that's homeless, my office located at 5 Dover Street,
Yeah.
we have a homeless wellness center. We do allow people to come in and use our phones to be able to do that phone call, and we do the assessment with them.
I say that all the time, we do.
Yeah, yeah. So
That is
I like to
not
say
me.
we're a team.
Yeah.
So the assessments and the screening can be done for that also, so that they can get into shelter and also gain other services that they may need.
So I won't have to give you all the numbers back because you just do the 1-800-HOMELESS.
1-800-HOMELESS, yes.
Any veterans who-
What you got?
No, I was just talking about, I was just saying on any veterans out there that
Yeah.
may want some help or think they need some help, and they may not have a copy of their DD 214, we can still try to find that information out for them, so
Yeah.
they don't have to
Yes.
scramble around.
Right.
So we'll help them get it.
Well,
They
especially
need
if
to
you're
get it.
homeless, it's lost, it's
Absolutely.
gone, you don't know where
Because most
things are
people don't
at.
have their
That
stuff.
stuff
Yeah,
gets
when that-
lost.
that to go.
Right.
One thing I saw on Facebook, I want to kind of give a shout out, is a little girl put a Ziploc bag with some socks, some cookies, some crackers, some gloves and whatnot, has it in the car. So when she sees somebody, she just hands them the bag, and a $5 bill, and she hands it to them.
I did see that.
So that was
amazing.
kind of like, wow. So besides, I talked about, I see, the people sitting on the street like that and whatnot. It's just nice to see the heartfelt of what kids see that are out there. Do you guys want to end with something about what's going on, or where are we at?
I just want to say, if there's anybody watching that's homeless, that there is no shame, addiction, homelessness, or anything. We're all here. I think I can speak for all of us. We're all here to offer any services that we can. I thought about the question, and so how can we help? I think a big way to help is by giving back to our community and our communities. And I am going to really plug for our annual point in time count, which the VTH does participate in. It's a really,
It's January?
that's the end of
Do you need more
January.
volunteers for that? or-
Well, that's what I was
Okay,
going to say.
sorry.
We do need volunteers for that. So if anybody's interested in volunteering, I am on that point in time committee. They can contact me at 508-674-2788, extension 503.
Wait, AJ, did you get that number? Can you put that up? Can you say it again, Danielle?
508-674-2788, extension 503. Along with that, if you can't volunteer your time, we are...
We'll take your money.
No. So the good thing is we are accepting donations. We always take money. Money's always good. But we are accepting donations. So some of the things that the homeless individuals like are little cans with the pop tops that you can kick back because they can eat that, gloves, hats, mittens, water. A big thing that's always a need is bus passes, so that they can get from one place to another place. Any kind of gift cards, we are taking donations for those things.
Well, think about it, guys. When you guys go Christmas shopping and you buy $25, you get 5 free, take all those freebies and drop them off.
That's a beautiful thing.
I mean, think about that. You know,
it's
you weren't going to have it
correct.
anyway. So kind of think about that.
And we do have that in the Howe Foundation. I just want to give a shout out to them. I've worked with them. They're an amazing foundation, and they have actually helped me in the past. So
check, it's 508-674-2788.
yes, extension 503. Yes.
Cool beans.
So we do
It's
have
Danielle.
Danielle.
Yeah.
We do have that stuff in office too. So if there is anybody that knows anybody that's homeless on the streets, they can always stop in my office. We do have backpacks. I have little fruit cuts, little things like that. Those are the services that we do provide, along with recovery coaching services, because a person's in recovery when they say they are. So there's a lot of services, and you know, any one of us, you can reach out and get the help.
Well, there's also an outreach, no, it's not an outreach, it's outpatient clinic for veterans downtown. A lot of veterans aren't aware of that one either, so there's some places you can go for services as well.
Wednesday from 8 to 2, they have their
AM?
open access, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They have their open access drop-in clinic that all veterans can, even if they're not VA, they're not hooked up to VA, they can just drop in.
Great. So one of the things our network started is Sobering Out. So actually, it's LGBTQ AA, but you don't have to be LGBTQ because you know it's open to anybody that's in AA. And it's Sundays from 9 to 10 at 484 Pleasant Street. So our youth center, we open it up to the whole community, and we actually do. There's a little bug flying around. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to wave away. We do Pride Cafe every Monday night from 7 to 9, same place. And it's an LGBTQ social support group for ages 18 plus, fostering acceptance, friendships, community, support, advice, and openness. Get people out of the bar scene. A lot of you know. And our kids age out from 14 to 24, and then where do you go? Now you're same home, just now Mondays instead of Thursdays. We also do yoga, and it's 14 up. It's Monday nights from 5:30 to 6:30. And we actually started an LGBTQ youth group from 8 to 13.
Oh, that's awesome.
So now your parents come with you, and the parents can kind of ask questions. Kids get to play and hang out.
I think that's awesome.
You know, so now we can have from ages 8 to 13, 14 to 24, 18 plus, all in the same place. So you can kind of grow in age as you go. And the LGBT Senior Supper Club, Fairhaven Council on Aging, is held the 4th Wednesday of every month at the Fairhaven Council on Aging. We did reach out, I think, to PACA to try to do an NA group. But we haven't got that far yet because we're trying to do different things. So right now we're booked almost every night of the week at our youth center. We do tutoring for our NBA League kids on Wednesday afternoons. So we do tutoring as well. So there's a lot of things that we do.
I've actually had clients utilize your AA group.
Oh, that's cool.
That are in my housing program, yes.
Yeah, I don't go because I'm not LGBTQ. I went the one submit to the people that were running it, you know. But like I said, our center's small. It is what it is. But our youth group, it's their space. They said, we finally said for 3 years, Pride Cafe doesn't have a home. So 3 years later, they said, okay, they can come. And when, you know, and then next thing, well, what about AA? What about? And our kids said, yeah. Because that could have been you at 8 years old. You know, we have, I mean, Kevin, you go to Pride Cafe, right? He goes to yoga too.
Hey, yoga's good.
It's healthy, it's healthy.
Yeah,
it is.
So then we're going to talk about homeless again next week. I mean, it's getting really cold. Yes, it was 54, today's 34. Go ahead, honey.
I'm so
Wait,
sorry.
there's more!
No, since it is getting cold though, I think it's important, the overflow shelter.
Yes, we always can use help.
28 degrees, if it's 28 degrees and below, the overflow shelter opens up at 71 Division Street in New Bedford.
I don't know, you're looking at me.
No.
Tell me you're asking me. Trust me, I know it's hard to
It's at
remember all
the
that stuff.
location that you had on Division Street, at Sister Rose's, and they're always looking for volunteers.
71 Division Street.
Yes,
Okay.
they're always looking for volunteers.
But what time would it open? Is it like all day long? Do you have to get out at a certain time? Some of these shelters?
So they do announce it on Facebook and multi-ways, and the city does announce it.
Facebook.
But
Sorry.
Yeah, they do ride
knock on
around,
the door
because
and-
my outreach team
Yep.
does ride around. We will be going to the encampments, we will ride around, we'll locate different people with on the streets, and we will give word of mouth that the shelter is open and provide transportation to the shelter.
And you guys have transportation as well, a lot of it for the buses and whatnot. I mean, that's a huge issue. Actually, the Medford, let's call it Lyceum, we actually met at like 40 different groups, organizations, and on diversity. But we all of us talked about transportation. We can't get people to go places because you can't get there, you know.
Bus passes are good, though.
Yeah.
So I want to thank our guests tonight. So we have Danielle Brown, Mike Riley, and Anthony, well, I guess Tony Irving. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye
Thank
now.
you.
Oh.